Welcome, everybody, to Week 6 Value Picks. Nice little rhyme there. We've got a distracted Alex with us. We've got the Mets-Dodgers game going on right now, Game 4. So if you see him gritting his teeth or on mute randomly jumping up and down, that's a good thing, and he's not in pain. So, Alex, since we're at commercial in the baseball game, we know you can talk football with us.
To Week 6 Value Picks.
How did your lineups go this past week?
Me? Terrible. Made my dad's lineups. Did great. Put Gurley in over Kelsey in both of them. Worked out perfectly.
For your dad, you said, not for you.
Yeah, I mean, I did, because this was the first week we did different lineups, or at least I did different things with them. And I played Gurley for him, not for me. He won, I didn't. So.
No.
But no, I actually wound up using both lineups that we made on Thursday. The one with Crowder, Snead, and Aiken that we were like, I don't know, I don't want to touch that one, with Le'Veon and Jamal. And then I also used the one we actually made at the end.
Yeah, my cash lineup, like I said on last Thursday, I left Ingram out. I liked Forte over Ingram, so that paid nice dividends for me this weekend. I stayed afloat, won back all the money I lost in my GPP, so that was fun. Pete, how'd you do?
Just about a push. What killed me this week, I don't know about you guys. I thought what would be fun to discuss today is just like name one player who you're just refusing to use in DFS for the rest of the year. For me, it's Jordan Matthews. Like, what are you doing? Like, just catch a pass, get in the end zone. Is it really that difficult? He has been a huge disappointment this season. I mean, from what we expected him to be, and the price has been reasonable, and it's just like Miles Austin, Josh Huff are producing, and Jordan Matthews is just doing nothing. And now that I say that, and I'm not putting him in any lineups this week, he's probably going to go off for like 180 yards and 3 scores. But the point is, he's not going to be in my lineup when he does it.
So I was gonna react with that, right? I don't want to say I won't. There's somebody out there that I will not play for the rest of the year, just because they hose me over. Because every time I do that, someone goes off. Like Eifert hoses me, so I stay off him, so he goes for 2 touchdowns. Who else did it? I mean, several other people did the exact same thing.
My 2 are Olsen and Kaepernick. Never.
If there's a week to play Kaepernick, it's this week, which we'll get into as we go through the picks. But yeah, Greg Olsen, another one that, hey, let me lay off him this week because he hosed me and he doesn't have that decent of a matchup, and he gets like 18 targets, 11 catches, 2 touchdowns. Awesome. So it's just the way this year has gone so far with some crap luck. But like I said, this past week was good. It was good to me. I can't complain. Also, what we can't complain about is the support from the viewers. Keep kicking those thumbs up. Keep liking us. Keep commenting. Reach out to us with questions. We had the most views last week out of any show we've had in the history of doing this. So we really appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for viewing us. Thank you for tuning in, clicking thumbs up, commenting, everything, subscribing. Please keep it up. Share the video. Do all you can. We really appreciate everything. And with that, I will just remind everyone, if you have questions, throw them in the chat or help us out with, on Twitter. Send us some questions on Twitter, and we'll get them into the Thursday lineup show for you guys, so we can hopefully help you guys out. And we've got a couple actually requests. One is that I stop drinking or swallowing while not on mute, so I'm going to try and do a better job of that throughout the show. Another one was Alex to take his hat off or turn his hat around, because we've had a few comments on how dumb your hat looks.
I don't care. I wear my hat.
David! Hey, so Alex, it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Cubs are waiting. So
yeah. First of all, congratulations. I'm
right. Congrats
looking forward to our series next week, assuming we gut this one out, or Thursday, whatever. Oh, I'm freaking out.
The
Oh,
last
Alex, you
request-
should have seen me earlier today, dude.
Dude, I was going to text you, but I figured you were either working.
I was freaking out. So I watched it with like my whole family. So I'm a huge Cubs fan, right? When they won, my mom was literally like bawling. Like she's been a Cubs fan for like 60 years. She was just like bawling on the floor, and it was a magical moment. I can't imagine what Wrigleyville is going to be like. I'm going to be there if they make the series. It's going to be great.
Yeah. We're gonna have I think we're gonna have a bunch of playoff series in the next couple of years together.
Yeah, well, the Cubs will certainly be there. Let's see what you can put together there. But we've got a nice young lineup.
Wow, look at that arrogance.
Okay.
Look at that. Look at
Dude,
that.
our lineup is sick. Our lineup is sick. I mean, there's like if you look at it, there's no out in the Cubs lineup. Like you can't pitch around anybody. It's just up and down, disgusting. Like I don't want to face that guy. Awful lineup for an opposing pitcher. Yeah, and not only that, we don't even have like with our ideal lineup, Javi Baez isn't even playing. Like that's how crazy of a team it is.
But
Chris isn't even playing. And okay, all right. Anyway,
weren't you guys top 5 in strikeouts for the year though?
Yeah, they're young. It'll fix itself over time.
Oh, okay, okay.
You have.
And by the way, wait till you see. Like, I'm really excited to see what Epstein does this summer, this winter. You know, he's adding at least one top-end pitcher, probably 2.
Well, I just want to say, Tommy LaStella. I played Little League against him. He's from the town next to me.
Was he legit back then?
He was disgusting.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like, our bench guys are ridiculous. Like, we got Coghlan, LaStella, and Baez on the bench.
He's like the most professional. Just like he's a pure professional hitter. Like that's what he is. And
all right, so let's take a timeout from the baseball. And I'm actually going to say one last thing. Right, we had one last request from the viewers, and that was to do a GPP lineup on Thursday. So hopefully we'll get to that this Thursday. But
if we win tonight, I will definitely be on. If we're not, I'm a maybe for Thursday.
In all of this baseball talk, I also want to ask the viewers if you guys would watch a baseball show if we did it during the next season. So we're always looking forward. We're looking at doing more things as we go forward here. So tell us what you guys want to see. I know someone had a request for hockey at the end of last season.
Ooh,
I'm not into hockey, but
me neither. Sorry,
I'm trying. So maybe we can get something going there. But yeah, again, give us ideas. Let us know what you think. And with that, let's dive into our Week 6 picks here. Again, value picks show. We're looking for decent value, cheaper prices at each position who are going to pay off at their value. First one, we're going to start with the quarterbacks again. Sam Bradford, 6,000 on DraftKings, 7,700 on FanDuel. The Eagles host the Giants this Sunday night. I believe that's the Sunday night game, right? Yes, Sunday night game in Philly.
No, it's Monday.
It's Monday?
Yeah.
I apologize. Monday night game.
Yeah.
So Monday night in Philly. Taking on the Giants. He went for 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks against the Saints at home this past week. We saw, though, him throw for 45 times. They kind of seem like they're actually getting the offense into I don't want to say into a rhythm necessarily, but moving along, running their plays quicker, getting Bradford throwing the ball more, and getting him more comfortable with throwing the ball downfield as well. Pete, what do you think about him against the Giants, who Anquan Bolden and Colin Kaepernick just kind of lit up in a couple of quarters there this past weekend?
Yeah, the Giants' defense is not good. So I mean, there's that. I've actually been recommending. So I do a DFS column every week, and it's called DFS Stacks. And I've been recommending a Bradford Matthews stack the past 2 weeks in a row. I'm off that bandwagon, but I think I'm still on the Sam Bradford. I don't mind playing him at all. I think we're starting to see sort of what we expected. 2 consecutive weeks of very respectable performances. If he can get this thing figured out and stay healthy, we might finally actually get to see what everybody thought we were going to see in the preseason, which is a high-octane offense with a ton of snaps and a lot of opportunity for fantasy performance from every position. while we can't really trust Matthews at the moment, although he does make an interesting contrarian play this week. No, don't play Matthews. While we can't trust Matthews at the moment, look, that doesn't affect Bradford, honestly, really at all, because he can throw to all three of the running backs. He can throw to all of the receivers who are not Jordan Matthews, which he seems to be more than happy to do. And I think he's a good play. I think he's a good play this week. The Giants are not a good defense. They're playing at home. I like him. The price it didn't move at all, did it? I don't think it moved at all on either site. It might have moved up 200 on FanDuel, but it's the same price on DraftKings.
Same price. He's been flat for the past 3 weeks on DraftKings.
So I mean, I'm on that again. I was on it last week at this price, and I'm on it again. I don't think I'm going to stack him with anybody just because. I mean, what do? You stack him with Ryan Matthews, I guess. But I think he's a good play. I don't think he's a good stack though.
Okay, Alex, do you think that they increased DeMarco Murray's volume this week? Do you think we could see them increase it at all, even more as we go on, or do you think we're still going to see Bradford throw? I mean, they had a sizable lead this game, right? Most, if not all, of this past game. He still threw 40-plus times. You think that's something that can repeat against the Giants?
Well, I actually think that the Giants' front is a little bit better than their secondary. So any team that can let Kaepernick do what he did, it's.
What are you talking about? Colin Kaepernick is All-Star number one. Number one pussy beater. All-Star number one.
Yeah, so any team that gives up points to Kaepernick, you can play him. Pretty much play your quarterbacks against the Giants.
This is what I was saying. Like the Giants are really a terrible defense. Like honestly, they're not good. And I'm even if you look at like the matchups that they've played so far, they were decent against the run, but that's just because you can throw all over them, which Bradford will probably do. The Giants have played Dallas, Atlanta, Washington, Buffalo, San Francisco, and have not done well against any of them, honestly. So, use your guys against the Giants.
All right, let's move on to our next pick, who I've never once fought for this guy, but right now I feel like he's being disrespected by DraftKings a bit. He's sitting at 5,700 on DraftKings, 7,600 on FanDuel, and that's the one Alex calls the soulless ginger. It is Andy Dalton. We've talked about him every week.
Should I show the picture?
Can we just say for a moment that the soulless ginger is a much better nickname than the Red Rocket?
Right?
Like, I feel like Andy Dalton himself would even agree. Like,
who calls him? First off, who calls him the Red Rocket?
I don't know, and second of all, like, what does Red Rocket bring to mind? Mark,
a dog's penis.
Damn it. Yes. No, but like Alex, right? Remember South Park? Red Rocket.
Red Rocket. Yeah, that was one of the.
That's what it brings to mind for me. It brings to mind South Park episodes.
South Park team. All right, I showed this picture to both Mark and Pete. My buddy made me this for the soulless ginger.
That's perfect.
Ginger cow episode with Andy Dalton's face. It's the best thing of all time.
See, like, I feel like if you legitimately, like, look, if you ask, like, does Andy Dalton want a nickname which associates him with tiny cardboard cartoon characters like jerking off a dog? No, he does not want he does not want a nickname that draws any parallel between himself and that. So I feel like even Dalton himself would prefer the soulless ginger nickname. Like, straight up, if we asked him, if we miraculously got him on the show and we're like, Andy, soulless ginger or bestiality? Which do you want?
I was going to say.
I know which way he'd go.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be compared to animal genitalia ever in his life. I don't know anyone that would. So we're going to keep calling him soulless ginger from now on. But here's a guy.
Which is frankly a good
I thought once I established it, it was written in stone. He is the soulless ginger.
It's there. It's going to stick for now, at least. It's definitely going to stick for now, at least. So he's gone for over 300 passing yards in each of the past 3 games, and that's at Baltimore, home against KC, home against Seattle. He has put up 30. Let's see. Let's go back to week 1. 18, 21, 35, 21, 31 fantasy points on DraftKings. So he's paying off his value easily, I think, every single week, right? Especially if you're putting him in a cash game. Now he's traveling to Buffalo against a defense and a secondary that has been not only kicking themselves in the ass, but just giving up tons and tons of yardage at the same time. So, Alex, cash game QB this week for Mr. Soulless Ginger or Mr. Ginger, whatever you want to call it.
What did you have? 25 points this week against Seattle?
31.
31, right.
He
So
ran for a touchdown.
Right, good point. All right, so take away that touchdown, 24 points. We can call it that, I guess, right? That's fair. The Bills, as well as their defense has been playing, have been getting lit up by quarterbacks, except for last week with Marcus Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
Give up like 20-ish to Manning. Tannehill wasn't very good, but Brady and Luck did pretty well, and obviously Luck did it in garbage time. But you can get garbage time points against them, and I don't even see that being a problem. Their front seven is a lot stronger than their secondary. If Cincinnati wants to win this game, they have to throw the ball anyway, and Dalton's going to have to throw the ball.
Okay. Pete, cash game for you as well?
Dalton, yes. I think Dalton's a good play. Slight concern over the matchup, but not enough to bench him. And again, the Bills have not been particularly good against pass, but better against the run. So, yeah, he's a cash game play. I agree.
Yeah. So the Bills have, I think, given up like the 9th most points to quarterbacks and the 6th most to both wide receivers and tight ends. But they're the 8th best against the running back. So if they're going to be beaten, or at least give up points, it's going to be through the air, regardless. If they're winning or they're losing. Plus no Tyrod, so they're going to have to throw the ball to get the lead and do it that way.
Right.
So with no Tyrod, though, you have to imagine, and I'm strictly playing devil's advocate here, right? I've kind of convinced myself that Andy Dalton is a cash game quarterback this week, but with no Tyrod, you imagine Manuel can't keep them in the game and can't keep it close, right? So are we looking at blowout risk and the potential for Dalton to underperform what he's done in the past few weeks when he's had to throw the ball? Like against Seattle, he had to throw the ball to catch up, right? Against Kansas City, he had to throw the ball to keep the lead and to generate the lead, right? Do we think he's going? You know what I'm getting at, right? Are we looking at blowout risk that is going to prevent Dalton from hitting 300 yards this week, Pete?
I guess that's with EJ Manuel under center. That's always a risk because number one, he's going to turn the ball over, and there's potential for a defensive score. Number two, he's no good, so it's not like they're going to keep up. So yes, that's the argument against Dalton this week. But every time we talk about this, I say the same thing, which is in order for it to be a blowout, you got to score the points first. And how are they going to be scoring them? Presumably through the air.
So let's also look at the quarterbacks that the Bills have faced so far. Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Eli Manning, Marcus Mariota. 4 of those 5 threw for 2 or more touchdowns against the Bills. Are we, Alex, are you putting Dalton in the Luck, Brady, Manning range right now? Do you think he can throw for almost 300 yards and multiple touchdowns this week?
I would put him more in the Manning range, not the Brady Luck. But, I mean, he's as cheap as he is. He only needs 17 points for you in DraftKings.
Right.
Like, if he gets 300 yards and 1 touchdown, awesome. You already hit value. If he throws for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, you're basically at value.
Okay.
Right.
So he doesn't need to do that much to hit value, and he's been throwing for a lot of touchdowns because the running of the football has been struggling. The running backs have been productive. The actual running game has struggled.
That's more what I was getting at with the what does he have to do? What's his minimum in order to hit you? In order to hit value for you, and 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, if that's essentially value for him, I mean, that's something that Eli did even with a huge lead. It's something that Luck did even though he has no offensive line, right? So I think we're looking at a nice cash QB there, especially at 5,700 in Dalton. Okay, let's move on to our next quarterback, Teddy B. Teddy Bridgewater sitting at 5,300 on DraftKings, 6,600 on FanDuel, coming off a bye. Kansas City comes into Minnesota this weekend. Let's see. The last game Teddy Bridgewater played was Week 4 at Denver. and he threw for 269 yards, 1 touchdown. He got you 16 fantasy points. Now, here's someone, Pete, that I'll go back to week 1. 230 yards, 150 yards, 120 yards, 270 yards. That totals on DraftKings not even 10 points, 18 points, 3 points, and 16 points. I'm off him this week, but convince me. I know you hate the Chiefs secondary, so convince me that Teddy Bridgewater is a good play this week.
Well, okay, so first of all, I'm not necessarily on Teddy Bridgewater, but I can make a case for him, okay? And the case is this. He's at home, coming off of a bye, against a Kansas City team that just lost to the Bears at home. So Kansas City has the wind. This is a game where I can see Kansas City this is their season. Their season is over after this game. They go on the road now without Jamal Charles, just losing a close game that they shouldn't have lost, frankly, at home. And they go on the road to a team coming off a bye, and they're probably going to get demolished. And then if that happens, their season is over. Now, we know the way to beat Kansas City is through the air. Cutler threw for 2 scores, I believe, and had a pretty nice fantasy week. Not amazing, but for the price, pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in their careers, fantasy-wise, I'd rather play Bridgewater over Cutler. So, he can't do any worse, I don't think, than what Cutler did last week. Okay. And Bridgewater's playing at home, whereas Cutler was going on the road. Bridgewater, I can't believe I'm saying this, has more weapons than Cutler had. Cutler was playing without Alshon Jeffrey, without Kevin White, without even Eddie Royal last week, and still managed to throw 2 scores through the air and have a very serviceable fantasy day. So there's a lot, if you actually look at it and make the case for Teddy Bridgewater this week, I totally get it. I can actually see, I can understand why you might play him. That said, I'm still not going to. I don't trust him. I mean, look, their offense runs through Adrian Peterson. Of course, Peterson can catch a pass and run it in. What the Vikings want to do is they want to hand the ball off to Peterson, and they want to win that way. They want to win easy, just running the ball. I don't buy it. First of all, Bridgewater's yardage totals are never very good, and second of all, I can see this game not being a particularly high-scoring overall affair anyway. So. I laid the case out. You can make the case for using him this week. I think there certainly are a lot of good reasons why you might consider it. Personally, I don't think I will. I mean, I might take a shot in a GPP, but that's it.
Okay. Really quickly, I just want to clarify something for a couple guys in the chat. We talk about hitting value in cash games and hitting value in GPPs. We mentioned it over the past couple weeks, and we try to mention it just about every week, but hitting value in a cash game is taking and this is a very basic, rudimentary look at things.
For DraftKings
in particular, it's taking the dollar amount that you're spending on that player and multiplying it by 3, and that's the expected or the required point total for you to hit value, right? So a cash game lineup typically, if you get 3 times value, which means if you spend every dollar on that in that salary cap, $50,000, you're going to get 150 points, and more often than not, a lineup of 150 points will get you in the cash for that cash game. For a GPP, you're looking 4 to 5x, so you're looking for anything from 200 to 250 points in that lineup in order to hit the value that you want from that player. Hopefully that kind of helps you out, that gets you where we're thinking of whenever we say someone can hit value. So Andy Dalton, 5,700, he has to hit you, 17, 18 points. That's what we mean. You kind of like his 3x. He has to get you 17, 18 points in order to hit value to be a cash game play. Hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. I think, Alex, I think I'll spare you talking about Bridgewater, and I'm going to jump over to Cutler unless you have something pressing to say.
Just he's against the Chiefs. They give up a lot of points to quarterback. I'm done.
Brilliant analysis. That's what we're here for.
Hashtag deep analysis.
I'm freaking out right now. So.
Analysis by Alex. All right, we're going to jump over to Cutler. I think Pete did a great job on Bridgewater there anyway, so we're good with him. GPP only, clearly, as you can see, though, by the stats that I kind of read out at the beginning. He's kind of up and down, and they're going to feed the ball to Peterson as well. So, in my opinion, GPP only there. Next up is Pete's boy, Jay Cutler, 5,200 on DraftKings, 7,500.
Is not Pete's boy.
I think it's Pete's boy, 7,500 on FanDuel.
Jay Cutler's not now.
Let's see.
Dude, come on! Just last week I was wearing a name tag that said "jacking off for golf." All right, come on.
That's true. But Jay Cutler did just lead you on a fourth quarter drive to win the game in Kansas City. So
yeah, but that takes away his chance of getting golf.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he heard you, and I think he took it
right.
personally.
Like, I was gonna say that at the beginning of the show. Like, can the Bears just stop winning? Like, come on, 0-3. We were on the right path. We were going the right direction. We were 0-3. Then we win a very close game at home against the Raiders. The week that I pick, like that week that I have Carr and Cooper in like every damn lineup in the universe, I'm playing Carr and Cooper against the 0-3 Bears. They beat them. Then the next week I've got in one of my big fantasy leagues, I got a ton of guys on bye. So I play Alex Smith, Jeremy Maclin, and Travis Kelce thinking, well, Arrowhead, right? They'll do well at home, and it's the Bears. They're terrible. And look what happens. This is ridiculous. Bears, knock it off. You're killing my fantasy season. Get back to losing so we can get Goff and get Cutler out of here. You heard it from me. Like, okay, can we just do that? Can that happen, please?
Now, in saying that, though, Alex, Jay Cutler and the Bears go to Detroit against a team that seems absolutely lost and seems worse than they were when they went 0-16 a few years ago. Are we looking at Jay Cutler at 5,200? I mean, Carson Palmer just kind of lit this team up, even though he only threw for 120 yards, right?
It was 160.
Same difference. It was still, he threw the ball like 14 times, still lit him up, 3 touchdowns. We're not expecting that type of day from Jay Cutler, but what are we looking at? 30-plus pass attempts still from Jay Cutler? I mean, we got to be able to get 5,200. Another, like, can he be a cash game play for you?
I don't know if I would play him in a cash game, but he could be definitely a cash game play. Detroit's defense is awful. DeAndre Levy is just dealing with the ACL from last year, the hip now. Like, he's not even a thing. Tulloch hasn't been that great stepping up like he did last year. They lost pieces on their line. Their secondary is not very good, and their offense just gives up the ball. They're terrible. They can be thrown on, and Jay Cutler, as bad as he is, he's gonna sling it, regardless. Like last year, he was in the borderline QB1, QB2 conversation for a long time, and people were expecting him to take that next step. He's still that guy. He's just, I mean, you don't want him to be that guy, but for fantasy purposes, because he throws it so much and he takes a lot of chances at big yardage plays, usually can hit value, especially at this cheap. Like last year, we were talking about him at 7,000 every week.
Right.
So Pete, in saying what he did, right? Do we think Cutler? I guess. Do you have faith in the Detroit secondary to not pick off Cutler? Because you know that Cutler's going to throw at least one pass to someone in a Lions uniform, but will they catch it?
Well, to me, what it comes down to is this. It's at 5,200, as we just explained. To hit value, he's only got to score 15.6 points. Okay, so if you break that down, that's 225 yards and a score. Okay, now with an interception, that's 275 yards and 1 score, or 175 yards and 2 scores. So you see that, to me, the likelihood of him hitting value in this game is actually very high. Now, if quarterbacks come, I hate to say this because he's always an injury risk, he's always a blow-up risk, but one thing he's been pretty good against Detroit in his career, and he's been fairly consistent when he's played and finished the game. This year, when he's played and finished the game, he's been pretty consistent. So I'm okay with using Cutler this week, particularly in a cash game.
Okay. Again,
I think that the likelihood of him hitting value is pretty high, as long as he doesn't get hurt.
I love it in tournaments this week.
With him, and I agree that Cutler, I can see Cutler in tournaments too, but actually that really depends on whether or not Haloti Ngata and the other defensive tackle, his name escapes me right now, but the other defensive tackle that the Lions were without this past week, if they're without both of them again this week, take Cutler out of your GPP lineups because I think they're going to feed Forte. But I go back to what we said against Dalton and what you just brought up, Pete. They don't have to do much to hit value. They're at such a cheap price, and their past has shown that they can do absolutely more than what they need to hit value this week. That I'm not going to say I'm going to be overly comfortable with playing them in a cash game, but if I see somebody playing them in a cash game, I'm not going to hate on it. I'm going to understand the thought process behind it, and I'm going to respect it. Now, he actually was our last value pick at quarterback this week. Let's move on to running backs. And our first running back, sitting at 4,500 on DraftKings, 5,900 on FanDuel, is the one and only Duke Johnson, going up against Denver. So immediately, I hate this pick, Alex. Tell me why you like Duke Johnson against Denver's coming into town this weekend at 4,500 on DraftKings. And sorry, again, 5,900 on FanDuel.
Because Denver's actually giving up points to running backs. And I also, he had 6 catches this week. He had 8 last week. He's catching the ball. It's DraftKings. You're catching the ball. It's big for that price. He's basically the same. He's Danny Woodhead right now. He's getting the ball. He's being thrown the ball, and he's a big part of the offense because Crowell isn't getting all of it. He's not a workhorse. Crowell gets first and second. Duke gets third, and a lot of throws. McCown likes to target him. I talked about it last week. Manziel isn't the type of quarterback that's going to target his safety valve because he's just going to run, where McCown is going to get the ball to his safety valve in most situations.
So Duke Johnson barely hit value this past week. He obviously crushed it in week 4. He didn't hit value in week 3 or week 2 or week 1. Even with at his price point now, a game like last week, 6 for 55, he also got 9 carries for 22 against a Baltimore defense that is not the Denver defense against the run, right? What still makes you so? You're only recommending him as a GPP play? I just want to be clear to everybody.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would play him in cash, but looking back at 2 of the last 3 weeks, Marcel Reese, 18.5 points because of 7 catches. Theo Riddick, 14.5 because of 8 catches. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for him. They're going to be down. They're not going to he's going to get the ball when they're down because passing situations Duke is in, running situations Crowell's in. It's as simple as that for this offense. And McCown's going to look Duke's way. In the game that they just had, they had a big flurry at the end of the game, which got a lot of McCown's points, but they didn't really need to use him as much early in the game. Where I see this game, they're going to be down quickly. They're going to be using him a lot more.
Another encouraging thing for me was I actually had the unfortunate happenstance to watch the Browns game last week, and you want to watch your players, so they did have the confidence to give Duke the ball, to give him handoffs, to have him run the ball in late game situations. Particularly, I remember it was either in overtime or very late in the fourth quarter. They handed him the ball around the 16 or 17 yard line, and he almost got in. So, got in for a score, got into the end zone. So, to me, he remains a good play. Now, look, the matchup is awful. Denver is the best defense. I've been all over them all year. They're the one defense I think you can play every week, regardless of the opponent, regardless of the situation. Denver's defense is really legit, and they're worth the money in fantasy. In my opinion, they're worth the money in DFS. But we're talking about Duke, and I sort of agree. A lot of players will be off him because of the matchup. But in some senses, the matchup actually favors him because they'll be behind, they'll be throwing, and he'll be in the game.
Okay. Let's move on to our next running back then. Coming off a bye, Lamar Miller sitting at 4,300 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel, heading into Tennessee this week. New head coach, new defensive coach, not defensive coordinator, not that matters for Lamar Miller, but Pete, how are we feeling against, well, how do you feel in general for Lamar Miller to actually get double-digit carries and become the kind of workhorse we thought he would be, and B, do you think we're actually going to see Tennessee do what they did against their first 3 opponents as opposed to the Bills this past week, right? The Bills kind of had no real semblance of an offense or a running game for that matter, but they gave up 2 scores and 80 yards to Frank Gore. They gave up a score and 70 yards to Isaiah Crowell. Week 1, the Tampa played from behind for most of it, so we can't really count many of those, but Charles Sims did catch 2 balls on 5 targets. So what are we thinking for Lamar Miller this week, Pete?
Yeah, actually, I think Miller is a pretty interesting play. Definitely not a cash game play. But where I would use Miller is I would use him in GPPs because a lot of people are going to be off Miami, coming off a bye, losing Philbin, which is probably a net gain for the Dolphins. I'm really interested to see what happens here because the guy who's replacing him is a younger guy with some fire. I think the Dolphins can be very usable in fantasy very soon. So to me, he's a GPP like shot in the dark. I'm obviously not on him in a cash game, and I'm probably not going to use him in a ton of lineups. But just to see what happens, I think it's not a bad play. The matchup is right. I think coming off of a bye, they're going to have motivation to play and play well. So, yeah, I could definitely understand using him this week, and I probably will at least once.
Alex, same thing? Yay? Nay? Did we lose Alex?
We lost Alex. Goodbye, Alex.
Oh, we lost him. All right. So
if Mets are losing, he probably just said to hell with this shit. I'm out of here.
He just texted us, said that his internet cut out, so maybe he'll join us in a little bit. But
that's Alex speak for BRB going to chug a 40.
Gonna just take multiple gulps of vodka.
Drown my sorrows. And what was that? It was like Mickey's. Is that right? Is that really, really gross 40? Hold on. Let me do Googles. Yeah, it is. It's Mickey's. It's Mickey's.
When I hear Mickey, I think of like a 1950s mobster, like someone slipping him a Mickey.
That's pretty much exactly what this is. It's the 1950s mobster of 40-ounce malt liquor. Okay, so that's what Alex is doing now, viewers. We're sorry. You're not going to have him for a while. He's off in a corner, drowning his sorrows in Mickey's.
Well, someone in the chat, someone goes, he was changing hats.
Welcome back, Alex. How was the Mickey's?
Dude, my internet. Wow. We still on Lamar?
See,
no.
He's even a little slow. I told you he went straight to the Mickey's.
He went straight to the Mickey's. No, we're done with Lamar Miller unless you have something super pressing to add.
Well, I put him in for me because I just wanted to say that I think with the new coach ball, this could be the first time Lamar Miller exceeds 20. That's just my take.
Oh, he's back.
Wait, did you miss what I just said again?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, man.
Yeah, it's not good. But what I was saying is, new coach, I think that there's a chance that Lamar finally gets 20 touches that he didn't have last year, or at least 20 carries, and that's big for him.
I agree that it's.
If he gets that many touches, he's an every week use, right?
Yeah,
like at this point.
I agree that's what we want, but he's still looking at the same offensive coordinator that he had before, so what makes you think anything's going to change?
No, I don't think the problem was Laser. I think it was just a bad culture. And I think
I totally agree with that. This was a bad culture from top to bottom, and I think Philbin had to go. And I think this could be – you could use Dolphins again. Devontae Parker, can you just throw in the ball and see what happens? Right, Alex?
Yes. Hey, number 4.
Right?
I hear you on that. But again, we can't. So at this time, nobody's guaranteeing any number of touches, and he's got an unknown floor at this time. So very dangerous for a cash game play. Just want to put that out there to the viewers. Okay, let's move on.
I want Jonas Gray to win the Miami backfield job, and like rush for 200 yards every week. That would just make my year. Like all these shitty weeks, like, I'm sorry, but this has been miserable. Like, trying to figure out what to do in fantasy this year. Am I wrong here? It's just been a real pain. Like, nothing is really making sense. And everybody who you were down on at the beginning of the season is, like, performing well. Like, come on. Knock it off.
One funny thing, like like people tell you love the first 4 rounds, then 5 through 8 or 5 through like 10 are like a wasteland, and then you get your sleepers. This year, if you had only 5th through 10th round picks, your team would be amazing.
Awesome. Yep.
It's unbelievable.
All right, let's move on to running back that I think is pretty quick to sum up here. It's Sharkandrick West. He is 4,000 on DraftKings, 6,200 on FanDuel. Came in, he overtook Niall Davis as the number 2 back in Kansas City, I think 2 weeks ago. He kind of showed, right? He got 7 carries after Jamal went down. I think Niall Davis touched the ball maybe once or twice in that time that after Jamal went down last game. Andy Reid came out, said there's still going to be a committee. Sharkandrick is going to be the head, but Niall Davis still has the potential to come in. We kind of interpret that as Sharkandrick is between the 20s, Niall Davis perhaps in the red zone, stealing goal line carries from him. We like Sharkandrick a lot, especially at that $4,000 price tag, and the matchup going into Minnesota. But again, we don't know what the split is going to be just yet. So, Alex, Pete, I'll go to Alex first. Are you comfortable with him in a cash game?
Alex is grabbing another rankings.
I'm here. I want to be with him, but I'm not because I don't know. Andy Reid sucks. He's the worst, even though he likes Sharkandrick. You don't know what's going to happen with this offense. They might just be down and have to throw the ball. You have no idea. I mean, like I said earlier, and you just said, like I envision Sharkandrick getting all of the play between the 20s and Niall Davis stealing inside the 20 goal line type touches. But the thing with Sharkandrick is he's the most similar to Jamal Charles that this offense has. He runs a little bit like Jamal Charles. He's obviously not as electric. This is Jamal Charles we're talking about. But he has that kind of that wiggle, that type of running style. Plus he catches the ball out of the backfield, which Niall Davis can't really do. Niall Davis is more of a big, just up-the-gut runner who's just going to bowl people over. So I want it to be Sharkandrick, but you don't know, so I don't think it's safe for a cash game. But for a GPP, like he's a must-play.
Pete, anything else, or shall we move on?
Okay, I'll make it real quick. I'm not using Sharkandrick at all this week.
Okay, you're just avoiding.
I know this is totally crazy.
What's going to happen?
I know this is totally crazy because I feel like a lot of people are going to be on him. I think a couple of reasons. One, I think the matchup is bad. We've already talked about it. Number two, we don't know. You know, there's rumors they may even sign Pierre Thomas or Ben Tate. Now, if they do that, I don't think Thomas and Tate are active this Sunday. But they don't know what they're going to do, so why should we even project that we know what they're going to do? I think a lot of people are going to be on him, and if he works out well, fantastic. But if he doesn't, then I'm going to be very glad that I didn't use him in any lineups. I think even at that price, even at 4,000, I think you can find better. So I'm actually off West this week, and I know that he's a very logical, straightforward. Look, what did we learn last week? It's Bizarro World, right? We're playing in Bizarro DFS right now. So we know this is true because everything you would expect to happen didn't happen. Again, by the way, again. Matt Ryan, where'd you go? It's Washington. See, look, that's my argument for the fact that we're still in Bizarro World, is that Matt Ryan did nothing against the Redskins at home, okay? So this is Bizarro World. That's the Bizarro World, like, sound? Yes.
Yes,
all right, anyway.
It's drama.
I'm going way overboard on this, but I honestly do believe this. Like, I think that this is not a good. I'm off him. I'm totally off him this week. So that means if you play him and Jordan Matthews, you're probably gonna like win $1 million. But I'm off him.
So, I get the reasoning behind being off him. I agree with Alex though. He'll be in at least one of my GPP lineups because at $4,000, the workload that he should get and that running backs in an Andy Reid system do get. I think it's a boomer bust type play. I like his and against Minnesota, the potential is there to get in the end zone and pay off your value for a GPP. But let's move on to our final running back before we go lightning round on wide receivers and tight ends tonight. Antonio Andrews sitting at 3,400 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. A guy who averaged 1.3 yards per carry against Buffalo, but got 14 fantasy points against Buffalo, and 2 weeks ago, prior to their bye, got 13 fantasy points against Indy. He paid off value both weeks, but you're relying on that touchdown to hit value, Alex. Are you confident Antonio Andrews is really going to hit value this week against the Miami defense that now with a new defensive coordinator could be looking at actually using the personnel the way they're supposed to be used?
Yeah, but I don't think the defense is going to be what it was overnight. I think it's going to take a little while. Plus, like, Antonio Andrews hits those two things that we look for in running backs, especially cheap ones on DraftKings. He catches the ball out of the backfield, and he gets goal line touches. So he has the opportunity to score touchdowns, and he has the opportunity to add big points via catch and run. So those are the things we look for. It's a risky play for cash, but I mean, if you want to punt it, that's the best you can do for a punt price. It's definitely the best option at that price range. But I would rather play him in GPP and just hope for a big game instead of like relying on him to really hit value. But at the same time, if he doesn't hit value, he's not that much of your roster construction, and you're relying on bigger names anyway.
I agree.
I know.
I agree. You're relying on the bigger play, on the bigger name GPP play. He does just have to hit pay dirt once, and you know he's more than halfway there to hitting value for you. My big worry is I'm disagreeing with you, right? I think Miami changes its scheme, gets life back into it that defense didn't have playing under that past defensive coordinator. They had the entire bye week to learn a new scheme. It's not relearning positions, right? They know how to play in the NFL, but it's learning a scheme where they can actually be used in that intent. So I'm worried playing any Titans running back ever because they all are just erratic as hell. But especially this week, I have a feeling, for me, I think Miami's like a GPP defense this week, for me. Pete, what are your thoughts on Antonio Andrews?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing a Titans running back, it's him. Unfortunately, that's just not really saying a whole lot. He was equaled in carries by Bishop Sankey. I think that's the only stat you need to know, is that Bishop Sankey is still getting as many carries as this guy. Is that the type of running back you want to use?
Well, see, I see it more as Antonio Andrews is starting to get as many carries
as Bishop Sankey. That's fair.
Around. He's been going up each week. I mean, apparently, like, they're using all three. They're using him and McCluster and Sankey.
But I mean, okay, so exact same price for $100 cheaper, you could have Theo Riddick. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You have a point. I completely whiffed on Riddick, missed them. Yeah, I actually like that better.
That's why they pay me the big bucks, Alex.
There it is.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
There it is.
I was distracted today.
What's that?
I was distracted today.
I understand. You know, honestly, Alex, like I can't even like think or like do two tasks at the same time when the Cubs were on today. So I feel your pain, my friend.
You know you don't. You're joyful right now. You hear it.
I am very joyful. Yeah. I mean, and it was even better that it came against the Cardinals. I was so happy, and all my friends who are Cardinals fans. Did you see my? Okay, all right. I'm sorry. This is way off base. But did you see my Facebook post?
No, I haven't been. I've been zoned in on the TV today. Do you guys
know the classic old kids movie, The Sound of Music?
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. There's this song in there where it's just a bunch of little tiny German children singing "So long, farewell." Okay, like goodbye. Yes, exactly. I said for all the Cardinals fans out there, and I put a link to the YouTube video of "The Sound of Music." So long, farewell. Oh, it was a fun day on my Facebook page. All right. Anyway.
All right. Let's please not reference musicals in this show.
No, look, dude. This is what they watch for. They want to know about classic.
No. What people are watching
children
I've actually
Movies.
seen several requests in the chat for you to drink milk.
I can do that. Yeah, should I take a pause here to go get some milk?
People want to see you drink your 2% milk. So,
I don't have any 2%. I'm back to skim now.
Well, you gotta watch. We're in season. You gotta watch your weight. I get it.
Yeah, I gotta keep my figure and fit into the size sticks.
I get it. All right. Let's see. Moving on. Lightning round. Wide receivers.
All right. Lightning round.
Let's blow through this. I'm gonna give you guys. It's gonna be a real lightning round though, because I'm gonna give you guys an unannounced amount of time, and when I'm tired of hearing you, I might just mute you, and we might just move on. So let's see how that works. I like having the power. I'm not gonna lie. I like having the power on this side a little bit. It's good. It's good to be back. Wide receiver, first guy, Eric Decker, 4,900 on FanDuel, on DraftKings, 6,100 on FanDuel. Going against that skin secondary that everyone thought Matt Ryan was going to throw all over. We really think Fitzmagic can throw everywhere. Do we think Eric Decker is going to get into the end zone here? Alex, again, 4,900, so he's got to give you a little bit more than what he gave you last time against Miami, which was 4 for 46 and a touchdown. What are we looking at here for Washington? Go.
Well, he's been the main beneficiary of red zone targets. Whenever we throw the ball, it usually goes to him on a post route. It's the same route every time. He runs out of the slot, runs to the post, catches the ball from Fitzmagic. And I think with the week off, and he looked okay in London, he was still a little hurt. With the extra week of rest to heal that PCL injury, I think he's going to jump back into his role, and Marshall and Decker are going to dominate.
Pete, does Marshall take enough of the attention away from Decker so that Decker gets one-on-one covers that he can exploit this week?
Probably. Washington sucks. Atlanta should have lit him up last week. But this is Bizarro World, so Bilal Powell, come on down.
No, all day.
We will not be touching Bilal Powell. Okay, that's it for Eric Decker. Let's move on to our next pair of wide receivers here. Anquan Bolden, Torrey Smith. Anquan is 4,300 on DraftKings, 6,500 on FanDuel. Torrey Smith is $100 cheaper, 4,200 on DraftKings, and $300 cheaper at 6,200 on FanDuel. Pete, we'll go back to you. Anything to say about these guys other than play your receivers against Baltimore?
Not really. I mean, look, we saw that was true. Josh, okay, hold on. I'm going to say this sentence as slowly and carefully as I can. Josh McCown just threw for 425 yards against the Ravens. Okay? Josh McCown.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
You know, Mark, what they say the key to comedy is?
What's that?
Timing.
Yeah. And you whiffed on
it.
I said wait for it. I couldn't find it. You didn't let me know. Yeah, you did. My bad. Yeah, I whiffed. All right, Alex, you got anything to add other than that?
Baltimore has the worst secondary, I think, in football right now. Just
good. So you just
plus it's a double revenge game for both receivers. I think Bolden is the favorite target for Kaepernick, but it is a double revenge game for the
very rare, never before seen double revenge game. How did we forget this?
Wait, how often, or for how long does it remain a revenge game?
Well, Torrey just left, and
right. Didn't Bolden face them as a 49er already?
It doesn't matter. It still counts.
But he had a nice team with Baltimore.
I think it still counts.
Still counts.
All right. Fine. Let's move on to our next wide receiver. I'm trying to bring him up
Super
here.
Bowl. It obviously counts.
Shut up. I'll mute you. Shut up. Go watch.
It's Jamison Crowder. That's who we're talking about next.
Yes, Jamison Crowder sitting at 3,600 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. Here comes a guy who just lit up Atlanta, 8 for 87. He's potentially, from what I read, I didn't watch the game, but from what I read, he plays in the slot just as much as any other receiver there. He's their primary slot guy. Potential that he takes on Buster Skrine, however you want to pronounce it. Alex, is Crowder at 3,600? He's hit value the past 3 weeks at that figure. Does he do it again this weekend?
I think so. I think the Jets are up in this game, which forces Cousins to throw the ball, which will lead to a nice game for the Jets defense as far as turnovers go. But if Reed doesn't play, and especially if Deshaun doesn't play, this guy's he's the leading target man, I think, the last 2 weeks. So he's going to get his targets. And if you didn't see anything from him, or at least watching Red Zone or watching the game on Sunday, he's got some wiggle. Like a bunch, 2 of his big plays came on screen passes where he did all the work. So this guy is a prototypical slot receiver, but also has a lot of big playability in him. And I don't think we've seen it yet, and I think it's coming. I think I may have mentioned this last week, but I feel like he's this year's Jarvis Landry. Not Jarvis Landry this season, but like how he was last year. It was like 5 for 53 every game, or 8 for 80, and maybe a score. He's gonna have that consistent floor that you can rely on week in and week out on cash games until his price soars.
Pete, anything else?
No, I think that's about right.
Cool. All right, we're going to move on to our next wide receiver. Heading back to the Titans well here, Alex. $3,100 on DraftKings, $4,900 on FanDuel. Dorial Green.
Why is this guy on the list?
Well, I kind of wanted to pair the next two, him and Parker, both coming up.
It would have been nice to put that in the notes, jerk. Jeez.
Sorry.
All right, I just read off Dorial Green Beckham, $3,100 DraftKings, $4,900 on FanDuel, or going opposite him, Devontae Parker, $3,000 DraftKings, $5,000 FanDuel. Pete, I'm going to give you first crack since you said, why is this guy on the list? Do you see any reason to play either of these guys this week?
Okay, if I'm playing either of them, it's Parker. And the reason is what we already discussed. You know, he's sort of that wild card. We don't know what we're going to see out of Miami on big changes coming out of the bye. You'd like to see Parker involved. You know Miami wants to get Parker involved. So if I'm going to play either of them, it's going to be Parker, and it's like one of those shot-in-the-dark things. 3,000, you plug him in, you cross your fingers, and, whatever. I am staying far, far away from DGB. His involvement is just not enough. It's not a good enough offense, and he's not far enough involved in that terrible offense. You know, in fantasy, you look for 2 things. You look for opportunity, opportunity and usage kind of being the same, usage, opportunity, whatever you want to call it, and then you look for, situation, for lack of a better word. DGB scoring very lowly on opportunity and usage, and scoring very lowly on situation. I don't get it. Parker is like the 3 question marks. This is the guy who nobody's going to be playing. But on the other hand, could he come out and have a fantastic game? Actually, yeah, I could see it. I mean, I could see it if they give him if for whatever reason they decide to put him into that Rashard Matthews, second receiver role, or even Landry, whatever. Okay, I could see it happening. There's a universe in which there's a bizarro universe in which I could see Devontae Parker having a nice week. I can't say the same about DGB, even if I put on my most weird bizarro hat I can come up with.
Alex, anything else?
So
the clock is ticking. We are in lightning round, remember.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Stop talking over me then, Mark. Please. Thank you. Right. So I actually disagree with Pete. I love Dorial Green Beckham this week. Not in a cash game. I like both of these guys for tournaments. This is why. Devontae Parker coming out of a bye, new head coach. This guy is your prize from the draft. You need to get this guy involved because this team is awful and they need to get his big playability involved in the game. I like him a little bit better than Dorial Green Beckham, but with Dorial Green Beckham, the whispers I keep hearing out of Tennessee, they want to get him more involved, they want to get him the ball more. He's already established himself as a very nice red zone target. It kind of eerily, just like Jamison Crowder reminds me of Jarvis Landry, he's kind of starting to remind me, and don't make fun of me because this is going to be a stretch and I'm not saying he's going to be this, but it reminds me how Evans kind of rose to that big stretch last year because they want to get him more involved. Once they realize they're out of the race, they're going to start featuring this guy as opposed to doing other things. Like last year, Vincent Jackson was the one, and then they were out of it, and they were like, all right, we're going to start featuring Mike Evans, and what did he do? He exploded. So I think as the season goes on, Dorial Green Beckham is a great play, and I'm going to play him in tournaments until he blows up because it's going to happen, and I want to be in there when it happens.
Okay, so you're saying roll him out in a tournament
Only tournament. It's a complete shot in the dark. We don't know. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
And if you're doing multiple tournament lineups, make sure you're not saying have complete exposure to this guy, but maybe toss him in one or two, sprinkle him in there. Maybe you benefit from a big game like a Jalen Strong type of game,
right?
And you hit pay dirt.
But I mean, he even has more upside than Jalen Strong in that game.
Let's listen to what I said. A Jalen Strong type of game where it catches two touchdowns because the upside is there.
Right, no, but I mean, like, he could do that. Like, Jalen Strong only did, 4 catches for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns? Dorial has, like...
2 catches, period. I don't know, it was 2 catches for two touchdowns.
I see, like, Dorial Greenback can do, like, 5 for 80 and 2 scores easily.
Okay, you have quite the imagination there, so let's move on.
It's a complete shot in the dark, but...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have a great imagination. So let's move on to tight ends here. Sticking with the Titans, Alex loves his Titans this week. Delaney Walker sitting at 3,600 on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. Pete, here comes a tight end who got in the end zone week 1, hasn't seen it since, but let's see, caught 4 for 36 against Buffalo. Again, going against that Miami front. What are your thoughts here?
You know, I was actually on. We didn't talk about it last week, but I was on Walker last week. Did not really perform. I actually thought he'd have a decent game, and I thought he was a play that a lot of people would have forgotten about, especially coming out of the bye. I can understand the logic here. He's getting targets. He's been decently well targeted. 6 targets last week, only caught 4 of them. Did not find the end zone. For the price, I think he's very reasonable. You know, he's one of those guys who you play, you don't feel great about it, but he certainly could win a week for you. He could win a GPP. I probably would stay away from him in cash. He has not been a good bet to hit value. You know, we always talk about that hitting value, and he has only done it in 1 week. That's actually maybe not even in 1 week. I don't know what his price was in week 1, but he's come close in 1 week, and he hasn't hit it in the other 3. So I'm definitely off him in cash, but I could see him as a GPP play. I played him in a couple GPPs last week, if curious.
We weren't, but thanks for telling us, Alex.
Alex, all
right, no. Like, Miami is decent against, as far as like the stats look, they look good like against the tight end, but the 2 weeks that they had complete goose eggs. Zach Miller, which Pete can attest, that's not a tight end. There was no Martellus Bennett. They didn't target Martellus Bennett, so that doesn't count. And in week 4 in London, the Jets don't have a tight end either. Our starting tight end was Kellen Davis.
Hey, what about that guy with really small hands?
Jason Morrow, he's out for the season.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Tiny hands.
Thank you.
Tiny hands. Every time I see him. All right, but the other 2 players that went up against this Miami front had big games. Jordan Reed went, I think, 7 out of 11 targets, 67 yards, 63 yards and a score. Charles Clay, 7 targets, 5 catches, 82 yards and a score. So they both had 19-plus points. This is another very good athletic tight end who can score in the red zone. I like the upside here. I'm not going to play him in cash, but he has a huge, huge ceiling for this week in GPP.
Nice. All right. Let's move on to tight end number 2, Mr. Jordan Cameron, sitting at 3K on DraftKings, 5,400 on FanDuel. I got to ask, Alex, what makes you think he's even worth 3K? Because to me, I'm looking at this guy, and he's got the past 3 weeks prior to his bye. He gave me, in week 2, 9 points, week 3, 4 points, week 4, barely 4 points. He hasn't hit value yet this year. What gives you the confidence he's going to do it this week?
I didn't say I had the confidence that he would do it this week, but the target numbers are there. And one of Tannehill's picks last in London was thrown at him, and Marcus Williams picked him off in the end zone. So their targets are there, and they're there in the end zone. So that's somebody that Tannehill feels comfortable with because the line isn't that great. His wideouts can't get open as quickly, but Cameron can, so he's looking towards Cameron more. And he doesn't really check down to the running backs either, so Cameron's his check down. So he has the upside. Obviously, the floor is awful because, I mean, he's already at 3K, and he's a much better tight end than 3K. But he has more upside than anybody else at 3K at the tight end position.
Pete, I'm gonna play a quick Who's Your Bay because I saw a name come up in the chat that we don't have on our list. Jordan Cameron or Larry Donnell. Larry Donnell is he's going into Philly, and he's sitting at 2,800 this week on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's sort of where I was going. Is why I don't know why we don't have Donnell on our list, because first of all, one of the things, and I believe we talked about this last week, with New York lost Fells. They lost their other tight end, so we expected Donnell to have a pretty decent game. Now, he actually didn't. He saved himself with a late touchdown catch. Before that, he only had like 5 for 20-something yards. But what I like about Donnell is that his targets, 7 targets last week, is actually had multiple end zone targets. He only managed to come down with one of them, but he was targeted in the end zone, I think, twice. One of them was on just a play designed for him. I think it was a fade or some kind of wheel into the end zone. So Donnell I like quite a bit actually this week. For the price, who's my bay? It's Donnell over Cameron. It's not close. And even the way I expect the different games to go, the game flow. We've talked. You can't really predict that. But between Philly and New York, and Miami and remind me Tennessee, right? This one's not close. I like Philly and New York, and I like Donnell, and I think he's a much better play.
And including on that, what we have to do is kind of include the disclaimer that you have to keep an eye on Ruben Randall and Odell Beckham's injury status this week. So if one of them is down, then Donnell's stock goes up. If both of them are down, Donnell's stock goes through the roof, and he becomes chalk. So
must play if they're both out.
Yeah. Right. The chance of Beckham sitting out, though, is slim to none, I think, especially since he ended up coming back in that game for that final drive. But either way, Randall didn't. But keep an eye on both of them as we're going through the rest of the week here. It is early in the week, so again, we do have, we haven't seen any injury reports yet. They usually start coming out Wednesday. At least for the Sunday games, so we'll see what's going on there. Really quick, just because we have some questions on it, I don't want to get too deep into it. We'll talk a little bit more about it Thursday. Alex, do you have a favorite D play this week?
I haven't really looked too deep into the matchups. I kind of really wait till Thursday to do that. But I mean, off the top of my head, I love the Jets going up against Cousins. I really do.
Okay, Pete.
I've said it every week. I've been on it every week. I'm on it again this week. Spend the extra money for Denver. I know McCown has been pretty good, but he's been pretty good against bad teams. Denver is not a bad team. McCown is still a bad quarterback. I'm all over Denver again. I've been all over Denver every single week. They haven't let me down yet. Play them again.
It's true. They've given you from week 1, 16, 22, 16, 10, 22 points. So, been a cash game play every week, or returning cash game value every week. Cash game play for sure, but returning GPP value, 3, 4,
every week but
5 weeks.
Yeah.
So, very, very impressive defense. I agree with you. McCown is not as good as the past couple weeks have shown. Put him up against a defense that's going to get to him and make him, uncomfortable back there, and you're looking at a pick 6. So I like the Broncos.
And with a good secondary.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. If you're going to pay up for one, I'm with you on that one. I like that one a lot.
Low-key defense, though, this week is the Panthers against Seattle.
My dog is terrified of the
I thought that of the Bengals this past week, though, and I got hosed.
They didn't do terrible. The
Bengals had 2 points. What are you talking about?
They got me 7. They had a bunch of sacks.
No, they didn't. You're out of your mind.
Didn't they?
I actually did play the Bengals.
7. You're right. 7 points for 2,800. Yep, 7 points. I thought they had 2. My bad.
I would have been furious if they had 2.
Yeah.
Like, all right, fine.
No, you're right. A pick and 4 sacks, so they had 7 points.
Carolina has a penchant for, well, at least Josh Norman does, for pick 6s, and they didn't score a defensive touchdown. So if you do what the Bengals did, even with giving up the points, getting the sacks and a couple turnovers, if they bring one to the house, they're a great play.
Yeah, I'm actually using Carolina as well this week. Still Denver over Carolina, but I totally agree on the Carolina.
Like a lot of people, like me, like I know you want to spend up for Denver because I mean it's a very very safe play, but for me, like I want to get the rest of my lineup set, and then whatever I have left for defense, that's what I'm rolling with.
All right, guys. I think that is it for us for tonight. We are well over an hour for a short list. It went pretty long, but that's okay. We had some good fun. We got some great feedback from the listeners and the viewers. It looks like a lot of people would actually watch an MLB show. Some would watch an NHL show. It's been established that I don't like Alex's hats.
I don't care.
I want to say one thing, right? Screw Alex's hats, whatever. Pete, I gotta say, as a follically challenged male, I find it offensive that you would hack off that beautiful head of hair that you had at the beginning of the season. What did you do? What
of all,
was it too much maintenance? Tell me, was it too much maintenance?
No. So I got that hairstyle, which was, the longer on top and the real short on the sides. I got it
European hairstyle, yes.
Right. I got it, yeah, beautiful, right? Very good. I got it like 2.5, 3 years ago is when I started wearing it. Now I can't walk down the street without seeing literally everybody has some version of it, and it drives me nuts. And so I had to change it. It had to go. Honestly, it's coming back, and I'm probably going to end up there again anyway. But just as a statement, I had to make a statement guys, come on, really? This is mine. What are you doing? What are you doing with this haircut? Huh?
Your state's first off, that's Russian, but
which is European.
Which is European, but it's a little strange. But
would you prefer French, Italian? Just tell me where to go here. I can do them all.
Go Greek. Yeah. Greek.
Italian, Greek Spanish.
Greek is Russian, but with a slightly stronger O and S sounds. It's the same thing almost.
Okay, give us Greek.
I'll work on it. Just give me. Okay, what? The Greek. I cannot give you the Greek all the time. All right. Why don't you just do the show? What is wrong with this guy, huh? Why do you have to tell me to give all these accents? Do the show.
Tell me, is I gotta ask this because my wife would want to know. My big fat Greek wedding, is that accurate portrayal?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Totally. No. It's a very accurate Greek American portrayal. Very accurate Greek American portrayal. And I know we have a lot of fun, but even some of my friends would point out, oh, hey, that's me. They'd see themselves in the movie. So yeah.
All right, I think that's a good way to end it. That was another very good show. Thank you guys very much to everyone that tuned in. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Someone says that the dog is your girlfriend, which is kind of funny.
No, so let me just explain. She's terrified of kitchen appliances. So if you turn on the toaster or the microwave or the oven, she freaks out. She has to come. So this is the farthest room away from the kitchen. So she has to get as far away from them as possible, and she comes running to me to hide or for comfort or something, or so that I'll protect her from the oven. So my actual girlfriend turned the oven on, and immediately, literally, I heard the oven beeps going, and then 3 seconds later, the dog's in my lap, looking at me like Armageddon is upon us. Did you see this look she's giving me? She's like, dude, you gotta go in there and do something right now. See this look?
She's right there, yeah.
That's what she's. She's literally.
She must hate fireworks and everything like that. Thunderstorms, fireworks.
Oh yeah. She's pretty much terrified of everything. Literally, but kitchen appliances above all.
Above all, interesting.
Yeah.
The things you learn. All right. If I could play The More You Know, that would be. That would be the best right now. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for joining. Thank you for everybody watching. This is, again, Week 6 Value Picks. If you can, please click the thumbs up. Share our link out there on all your social media sites. If you have questions, hit us up on Twitter. Hit us in the comments. We'll do our best to respond. We had, again, a great show last week. We're going to get better as the season goes on. And like I said at the beginning of the show, if you guys have any suggestions, we're taking your feedback into account, trying to make immediate changes to the show. Also looking into doing different stuff as the seasons go on. You're in NHL, NBA, and NFL right now, so we could.
I would love to do an NBA show. Honestly, I play NBA DFS more than football, but Yeah, I don't know if you guys are all over that.
So we've got a lot of potential in the pipeline here. So just reach out to us, tell us what you'd actually enjoy and what you'd actually watch, and we'll see what we can do about it. For at Alex Hanowitz, at P Karaganis or Karagianis, if you're Greek out there. I'm at MN Milano. Thank you guys very much. Alex, Pete, thank you guys for hopping on, and we'll check everybody on Thursday. Thanks, guys.